Hey peeps, we are back. We are talking The Real Housewives of New Jersey, season 13, episode 6. Hey, before we get into the video, please do me the honors of subscribing to my channel, hitting the notification bell so you can always be notified when I post new content, hitting the thumbs up because that does wonders for my channel, and share. Thanks. Before we get into the show, you guys probably already heard this, but it looks like Coppin University has decided to part ways with Juan Dixon. I guess due to this alleged assault situation that happened with one of his coaching staff members and one of the players. They have decided to part ways with Juan. I never like to see someone lose their job, but if what the player alleges is true, then I'm sorry, that's just one of the punishments for not fulfilling your duty, not only as a coach, but in my opinion, your duty as a human being who cares about another. Good luck to Juan and Robin, especially if Juan is actually innocent. All right, so peeps, get down in the comments and let me know what you think about Juan Dixon being let go from his coaching job. All right, now on to the show. So the show starts off and Teresa's in therapy. We find out that she's actually been in therapy for about 6 months. And you know, I like therapy, Teresa. I really do. She is not acting as crazy and as loud as she was before. And of course, we all know this is due to Louie's heavy influence. We found out a few episodes back that Louie's mom is a therapist. So I'm pretty sure that's a family way. You know, that all of Louie's siblings, they probably are all advocates of therapy, and I think this is really good for Teresa. During her therapy appointment, we did find out that she says that her dad never told her that he loved her growing up, and that the only reason he started saying I love you is because she told Gia to always tell her grandparents how much she loves them. And when she said that, I just got emotional. I don't know why. I started crying a little, and I think it's because I couldn't imagine growing up and my parents not telling me how much they love me. And I couldn't imagine raising my son without telling him how much I love him. You know, my son's in college and he doesn't live with me anymore, but there's not a day that goes by that I don't tell him how much I love him. I just think it's because tomorrow is not promised, and you need to make sure that people know you love them by not only your actions, but also your words. We also find out that Teresa and her girls went to Antonia's Sweet 16, but Antonia did not come to Melania's Sweet 16. And Teresa was pretty sad about that because Melania and Antonia have always been extremely close. And they showed a flashback of them as little tinies, and they were so adorable. They said that she had some sort of cheerleading competition, and I don't know. I wasn't quite sure if Joe and Melissa showed up and they brought the boys, or if none of them showed up at all. If Joe and Melissa showed up and they brought the boys and just Antonia wasn't there, then I think that it was just a conflict in schedule. But if none of them showed up, then I think that's a shame. I really do. One thing that I agree with the therapist is she told Teresa that you can only control your own actions. And she feels that if Teresa and Joe cannot make this thing work, it's time for Teresa to move on. And listen, honey, I could have told you that for free. It saved you the $150 an hour. Anyway, Teresa makes this comment that she's scared of Joe. His temper scares her. And I had to rewind. I said, what? Girl, your temper is crazy too. And there's no way in hell, even with 6 months therapy, that you are scared of Joe. I just don't believe it. Now then you see Marge and Jennifer F, and you see Jennifer A with her husband Bill, and she tells Bill about Marge calling her a disheveled drug addict, and then she makes some kind of comment that Marge is an albino with a wig. And you know, Marge should have never called her a disheveled drug addict, but Jennifer can't call her an albino with a wig. Go back to Kojak with a wig. I think that that is a very derogatory term, and I think that it's extremely rude. Let's just pump the brakes there. Kojak with a wig is much better. I mean, it's all wrong, but you know what I mean. Just dial back the disrespect, that's all. When Jen was talking to Marge, she makes this comment that that wasn't Marge. That behavior wasn't her. And I said, girl, where the hell have you been? How long have you been Marge's friend? Because that behavior was absolutely Marge, and it was absolutely juvenile, and it was below the belt. And I have to agree with Danielle. Marge goes low, and then Jen goes lower. And that's the problem with both of them. They have got to stop taking these low blows, especially Marge, because Marge likes to throw in the lowest blow she can get, and then she wants to accuse the other person of being trashy or just being vulgar and hurting her feelings. And I think that when Jen made the comment that the rest of the ladies are afraid of Marge, I think she might be onto something. And the reason I say that is because, and she probably knows more about Evan's alleged affair, and that's why Jackie stays Team Marge. Melissa has probably cheated, and that's why she stays Team Marge. I don't know. It just seems to me that Marge is the person that is just lurking in the background, doing the most to dig up the most information on each and every person so she could use it and hold it over their head. Marge is a pain in the ass to me, and I would never be friends with somebody like Marge.
She called me a disheveled drug addict. This is not disheveled, baby. This is a freaking shampoo commercial. Hey. And you're just an albino with a wig.
I just want to say to you that that display was not you. I was like,
I agree.
You're screaming these really 16-year-old things to her. There's nothing adult about the way that Margaret loses her. You have completely lost control.
They're afraid of Margaret.
This is why none of them say anything to rebut her.
They're all thinking, let's just be on our best behavior and keep Margaret quiet.
And they were giving me warnings about like being friends with Margaret. So Teresa actually specifically said, it's better to have Margaret as a friend than an enemy.
See? I know fake when I see it. And Teresa running to Margaret at my roller skating party was the fakest I've ever seen.
It's so obvious that Louis told her, be good to Margaret, don't with Margaret. Because we're gonna need Margaret to stop telling all of the truth about us.
We keep your mind open, keep an eye out.
Teresa saying keep an eye out for Margaret?
You're a better friend than an enemy.
I wasn't even mean to Teresa. I don't even know what she's talking about.
A true friend is not saying keep your eyes open for that person. They were also saying that she tries to sway people's like decisions.
Yeah, you obviously have a lot of history, and like, I honestly don't want to go into a friendship thinking that you're gonna come get me at some point.
I can't possibly wrap my head around a human wanting to dig up things that I've done in my past to try and destroy me, but my gut is always to listen to my friends, and they obviously have been done dirty.
I just don't know why the viciousness comes like right out the gate.
So then they go over to Dolores and Paul, and you know what? I don't care. This is a relationship storyline that I just don't care about. The funniest part was Dolores' dad shows up with his own soda. He says he didn't want to put you out. I said, by the looks of Paul's place, I don't think 1 2-liter of soda is going to put him out. We did find out that Paul's going in for heart surgery, and I'm wishing him the very best. I do like Paul's house. It is beautiful. It's all the windows that really do it for me. Then we see Melissa, Joe, Frank, Brittany, Rachel, and her husband. I don't even know what that man's name is. They go out to some kind of batting cages. And you know what? I totally understand that Frank is upset about the new dynamics regarding him and Dolores, but this is getting to be too much. And I don't understand why Brittany is okay with this. If my man is somewhere in tears because he can't get his ex-wife on the line 24/7 at his every beck and call, and he can't just show up at her house and walk in, I don't want it. I don't want to be bothered. I really don't. She says that it doesn't bother her, not one bit. Listen, Frank, I know that you and Dolores are close. Y'all have these kids together, but your children are grown as hell. Little Frankie is doing his own thing. Your daughter is a veterinarian. You need to grow up. The fact that you are in your 50s and you are living at David's house and you've got this girlfriend who is probably spending the night at David's house, it's too much. It's given I need to grow the hell up and be independent. I, as a grown woman, would never, and I do mean never, start a serious relationship with a grown man who is living at some other grown man's house. I'm sorry. That's just not okay for me. You know, this whole Melissa, girl, You tried it. Get the hell out of here. I think that Melissa is afraid that Marge may become friends with Teresa, and then she'll tell all of her business. I really do. I think that she does not want Marge and Teresa to be friends because she absolutely is afraid of what Marge may tell Teresa. She kept making that comment over and over and over throughout the episode about ball player. If it was all just fun and jokes, why do you keep bringing it up? Why don't you sit back and be quiet? I don't think that Marge was joking about that at all, because she mentioned that Melissa was upset. I think Marge was absolutely telling Melissa that you need to get rid of Joe and get somebody else. You could possibly get a ball player. Marge is not here to see anybody happy. I think that Marge is a miserable woman and she just wants to take her misery out on others. And I think that it's really weird that Melissa says that she thinks that Louis told Teresa not to talk to Marge so that Marge wouldn't tell the truth about him. When she said that, I chuckled. I said, that's the same reason you, Dolores, and Jackie are friends with Marge. You don't want her to tell y'all's business. I think that everything Melissa is accusing Teresa of doing, she's actually doing. And you know, something else I thought about during that conversation too, I said it's weird that Melissa is allowed to share her thoughts and opinions with Rachel about Teresa and Jen, but when Teresa and Jen tried to share their thoughts with Rachel about Marge, that wasn't allowed. Oh no, they are going below the belt. And you know, I'm confused about Rachel. And one of my reasons for being confused about her is that she continues to complain that Teresa and Jennifer are always talking to her about other people. She can't stand it. She doesn't want to hear about it. But she is perfectly fine to sit around the rest of the girls while they badmouth Jennifer and Teresa. And when Melissa said that Teresa can't stand Marge, I said, you know what, you might be right. She probably can't stand Marge, but at least she's trying to be mature about it. She's trying to keep the peace instead of all the screaming, yelling, and fighting and drink toss and table throwing. You know what I mean? Let that be a lesson to you, Melissa.
Come over here, Joey.
That she broke my heart. I was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she's like, a therapist.
Oh, she said that?
Is that like new, or is that something that she always...
She never said that before. Before, she wanted to be on stage, she wants to be a Broadway star. Yeah, that's sad. I never spoke about this infidelity for this very exact reason. Like, why would I want them to know this about their dad? I don't know what this is going to do to their psyche, for their trauma. I'm not going to get over that easily. Where is Paulie?
He's sick. He's going for heart surgery tomorrow.
I did not know that. Oh my, is nothing major?
Yeah, it's major.
My cousins are growing up so fast, so every time I see them, it just reminds me that I'm not able to be there for them as much as I would want to.
Wait, what is that?
He thinks he's big. No, Joey, are you kidding me?
It almost feels like my Zio Joe and Zio Melissa are trying to put a wedge in between us. And that's definitely a feeling that doesn't sit well with me.
Joey, let's go.
You know, when they get into the locker room for the game, Marge makes this comment to Danielle that she doesn't know why Jen is treating her like that. She hasn't done anything to her. I said, you haven't done anything to her? What the hell? What are you talking about? You have done a lot to this girl. You told her last season and she was just with her husband because, you know, he provides for her, which to me, I think that shows that Marge is extremely jealous of Jen. I think she's jealous because Jen gets to be a stay-at-home mom with all 5 of her kids. Bill provides and takes care of her financially. And Joe, I don't even know if that man has a job. She keeps telling us that he's a plumber, but he seems to always be home. All right, also I forgot, when Melissa was talking about Teresa and calling Teresa fake, well, if Teresa is fake, so is Marge, because Marge went over to Teresa's house for the whole let's make peace sit down, even though Marge never apologized like she should have. Now, one thing I also like about Danielle is she gets the whole thing. She's not afraid of Marge. Marge doesn't have anything on her. She is not about to allow Marge to manipulate her. She is going to make her own opinion, and she doesn't understand how this woman operates. It does not make sense. And then for Marge to get an attitude because Teresa and Jen said that better for her to be a friend than an enemy, I was completely shocked. But I was also shocked that Jackie and Dolores acted as if that was new to them, considering that last season both Jackie and Dolores said it's better to be Marge's friend than an enemy. They both said that. Not to mention, wasn't it a few seasons back when her tagline was that she was a better friend and you didn't want her as an enemy?
I'm a loyal friend and a lethal enemy.
I thought so. I'm tired of Jackie. I just want to say that, Jackie is a bitter woman. She is mad that she was demoted and she has taken her anger out on Danielle. Whatever is going on in Danielle's life with her brother, without her brother, whatever it is, mind your business. Go on about your business. We didn't talk to you about your broken relationship with your sister. Leave Danielle the hell alone. You got demoted. Let it go. It's not her fault. Now, did anybody notice that when Teresa showed up, Joe ran off with Melissa's son? Did anybody else notice that? Every time they showed little Joey, it said Melissa's son. It didn't say Joe and Melissa's son. It was just Melissa's son. I don't know what the Bravo editors are up to, but knock it off. Why did he run off like that? That another time that he just shows that he's a little bitch boy. And then later on in the episode, he kind of pulls Joey away from Teresa and the girls. My first thought was they are so happy to see him. They are so happy to spend time with him, and that their interactions with little Joey was so much more relaxed and comfortable and loving than the interactions with Gabriella, Gia, and Melissa. There is a difference there. To me, it's Joe that's pulling this family apart. Teresa is trying. Rachel tells Jennifer about Olivia wanting to become a therapist. And it's just like I said in my video last week, that is due to this affair. And that is something to be worried and concerned about. And you could see in Jennifer's face that she wanted to cry. She was absolutely shocked and taken aback. And, the only thing I can think of is when they brought it up last season, Marge said, kids are resilient. They'll get over it. Get them some therapy. This is Marge's fault. I am not saying that Bill is not wrong, because if Bill hadn't have cheated, Marge wouldn't have had anything to talk about. But this is Marge's fault. She had to bring this to the show as a storyline. If she would have just kept her mouth shut, it would have never ended up on TV, and her daughter would have never found out about it on TikTok. And I understand why Jennifer said she will never forgive Margaret. One thing is for sure, Marge can say whatever it is she wants to say about Jen, but Jen, ever since the moment she got on this show, she has been real. She has been real about her life. She's been real about her kids. Her storyline has been her real life, her family. She has been extremely authentic. We cannot say the same about any of the other women on this show. None of them. I think that Marge sometimes forgets that her and Joe split up two families. And it drove those families apart. It drove Marge's own kids away from her. So this is just not okay. She knows exactly what she was doing. Now, when Bill and Jennifer go to therapy, honey, now listen, it's not going well. Bill the whole time was completely quiet while Jennifer kept going over all the things that upset her, everything that ticks her off, which I'm sure she needed that space and time to vent. However, his reactions to me say that he is checked out. He is tired. He is through. I don't know what's going to happen between the two of them, but I hope they continue to go through therapy, because it does not look good. You guys get down in the comments and let me know what you think. And until next time, bye.